The quantum scanner's soft blue glow illuminated Lieutenant Hiro Tanaka's face as he leaned forward, his eyes narrowing at the anomalous reading. The bridge of the UES Artemis remained hushed, broken only by the gentle hum of advanced systems and the occasional ping of deep space sensors. "Captain Santos," he called out, keeping his voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline. "I'm detecting unusual gravitational distortions at bearing 347 Mark 210. The pattern matches those theoretical signatures we were briefed about." Captain Isabella Santos rose from her command chair, her movements deliberate and graceful despite the artificial gravity's subtle fluctuations. The stealth panels of the Artemis adjusted automatically to the changing starfield around them, its revolutionary hull drinking in light like liquid crystal. "Show me," she ordered, moving to stand behind Tanaka's station. The holographic display expanded, filling the space above the console with a three-dimensional representation of the surrounding sector. A cluster of rippling distortions stood out against the backdrop of normal space, their movement too regular to be natural. "Those aren't random fluctuations," Senior Science Officer Maya Chen remarked from her station, her fingers dancing across the haptic interface as she ran deeper scans. "The energy signature suggests a massive object moving through subspace, but it's like nothing in our database." Captain Santos studied the display, her expression thoughtful. The Artemis had been patrolling this sector for 3 weeks, investigating the mysterious disappearance of several research outposts. Now they finally had something concrete, something that shouldn't exist according to known physics. "Status of our Phantom Drive?" Santos asked, glancing toward engineering section of the bridge. "Operating at peak efficiency," Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez reported, his hands moving steadily across his console. "Power signature is negligible. As far as conventional sensors are concerned, we're just another piece of space debris." The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, each member knowing their role in this delicate dance. The Artemis represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, a ship that could hide in plain sight, bending light and gravity around itself like a digital chameleon. "New contact." Tanaka's voice cut through the silence. "The distortion is solidifying. Something's emerging from subspace." The holographic display flared as a massive shape materialized into normal space. The alien vessel dwarfed the Artemis, its crystalline hull pulsing with internal energy that defied conventional engineering principles. Geometric patterns rippled across its surface, each facet larger than most human ships. "Classification confirmed," Maya announced, her voice tight with controlled excitement. "It matches the fragments we recovered from the Proxima incident. This is a Raxan warship." Captain Santos straightened, her decision already forming. The Artemis had been built for this moment, to observe, to learn, and if necessary, to prove that humanity's apparent technological disadvantage meant nothing in the face of innovation and strategy. "All stations, initiate silent running protocols," she commanded. "Lieutenant Tanaka, maintain tracking but keep us in their sensor shadow. Commander Rodriguez, divert auxiliary power to the Phantom Drive's containment field. Maya, I want every scrap of data you can gather about their systems." As the crew acknowledged their orders, Santos returned to her chair, toggling the secure channel to ship intelligence. "Begin recording. First confirmed contact with Raxan vessel in controlled conditions. Timestamp and encrypt under Protocol Sierra 9. The massive alien ship moved through space with apparent impunity, unaware that the seemingly empty void harbored a human vessel. The Artemis followed like a shadow, gathering data with every passing second. They had trained for this, prepared for this, but the reality of being so close to such an advanced alien vessel still sent shivers down the crew's spines. The hunt had begun. But unlike humanity's ancient predators, this chase would be won not with strength or speed, but with patience, intelligence, and the countless hours of preparation that had gone into making the Artemis more than just a ship. It was humanity's proof that innovation would always triumph over raw power. Communications Officer Lin Zhao removed her neural interface headset and blinked rapidly, adjusting to the bridge's ambient lighting. "Captain, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. The translation matrix is processing their message now." The massive Raxon warship loomed in the holographic display, its crystalline structure refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Captain Santos leaned forward in her chair as the alien transmission filled the bridge's audio system, automatically converted from its original form into something human ears could comprehend. "Attention, unidentified vessel," the artificial voice declared, its tone carrying an unmistakable note of superiority. "Your primitive attempts at concealment have been detected. Submit to immediate inspection or face disintegration." Maya Chen's hands flew across her console. "They're bluffing, Captain. Their sensor sweeps are passing right through us. The Phantom drive is holding." "Interesting," Santos mused, studying the tactical display. "They're trying to flush us out with a general broadcast. They suspect something, but they don't know exactly where we are." Lynn's eyes widened as she analyzed the incoming data stream. "Captain, there's something embedded in their transmission. Complex mathematical sequences, quantum encryption patterns. They're not just sending a message. They're scanning us with every communication pulse," Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez confirmed from engineering. "Clever. Each transmission is also a probing beam." Santos smiled. This was exactly the kind of intelligence they had hoped to gather. "Lynn, initiate protocol mirror. Let's see what we can learn from their own signals." The communications officer nodded, her fingers dancing across her haptic interface as she implemented the carefully prepared countermeasure. Every incoming transmission was now being redirected through the Artemis's quantum analysis array, dissected and studied even as it arrived. "The encryption in their transmission is incredibly sophisticated," Lynn reported, excitement creeping into her voice. "But it's based on predictable mathematical progressions. Their technology is advanced, but their thinking is linear." The bridge crew worked with practiced precision, each new piece of data adding to their understanding of their mysterious adversary. The Raxon ship continued its broadcast, unaware that each attempt at intimidation was revealing more of its own secrets. "Energy spike," Tanaka called out. "They're charging weapons arrays." "Hold position," Santos ordered calmly. "Continue data collection." "Maya, what are you seeing?" The science officer's voice was tight with concentration. "Their weapon signatures are remarkable. They're using some kind of crystalline fusion process." "Wait." She paused, double-checking her readings. "There's a pattern to their power distribution. It's efficient, but inflexible. They can't modify their energy flow once it starts." Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez leaned forward at his station. "That's their weakness. All that power, but they can only use it in predetermined ways. They've sacrificed adaptability for raw strength." The Raxon ship's next transmission carried an unmistakable threat. "Your silence confirms your primitive nature. You have 30 seconds to reveal yourselves before we begin systematic elimination of this sector." "They're getting frustrated," Santos observed. "Lynn, prepare a special response. Let's give them something to think about." Working quickly, Lynn composed a reply using carefully selected fragments of the Raxon's own transmissions. The message she crafted would appear to come from empty space, encoded in their own encryption patterns. The response was simple, a mathematical sequence that seemed to predict the next 3 numbers in their transmission algorithm. It was a demonstration of understanding that would be impossible to ignore and impossible to trace. "Message away," Lynn announced. The effect was immediate. The Raxon ship's energy emissions fluctuated wildly as they processed the response. Their next transmission betrayed their confusion. "Identify yourself. How did you acquire this knowledge?" "Now they're really interested," Santos said with satisfaction. "Phase 1 complete. Lynn, begin protocol whisper. Let's see how they handle a ghost in their own machine." The Artemis maintained its perfect stillness in space, gathering more data with each passing second. The hunt was evolving into something more complex, a battle of intellects where humanity's greatest weapons would be patience, adaptability, and the ability to turn an enemy's strength into a weakness. Dr. Mei Chen stood before the holographic representation of the Phantom Drive's quantum matrix, her dark eyes reflecting the shifting patterns of energy. The engineering lab hummed with the soft whisper of cooling systems as she manipulated the three-dimensional display with practiced gestures. The solution was there all along, she murmured, fingers tracing the intricate web of light before her. Grandmother's stories about shadow puppets weren't just entertainment. They were teaching complex principles of light manipulation. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez entered the lab, his footsteps nearly silent on the deck plates. Dr. Chen, the captain wants an update on the Phantom Drive's stability. The Raxan ship is increasing their sensor suites. Mei nodded without taking her eyes off the display. Tell her I'm implementing the final adjustments now. What my grandmother understood intuitively, we finally managed to quantify. Watch this. She pulled up a second hologram, this one showing a traditional Chinese shadow puppet performance. See how the puppeteer doesn't just block the light. They manipulate it, bend it, create illusions through careful control of angles and intensity. Rodriguez stepped closer, his expression thoughtful. You're saying we can apply the same principles to the Phantom Drive? Exactly. Mei's hands danced through the air, merging the two displays. Instead of trying to absorb or deflect all scanning beams, we let some through in precisely controlled ways, like the puppeteer showing exactly what they want the audience to see. The engineering team gathered around as Mei began implementing the modifications. Each adjustment was minute, requiring quantum-level precision, but the results were immediately visible in the system diagnostics. Quantum efficiency up 12%, announced Lieutenant Sarah Park from her monitoring station. Power consumption dropping to 63% of baseline. Mei allowed herself a small smile. The Raxan rely on brute force, overwhelming power, and complex crystalline matrices. But they never considered that simplicity could be more effective than complexity. A warning light flashed on the main console. The Raxan ship had begun a new scanning pattern, more sophisticated than before. Mei watched the incoming data with growing excitement. Perfect timing. Everyone, observe. She activated the modified Phantom Drive protocols. The holographic representation of the Artemis's sensor profile began to shift and flow like water. Instead of presenting no profile at all, we're showing them exactly what they expect to see. Empty space, with all the natural quantum fluctuations and background radiation they'd anticipate. We're not invisible. We're simply unremarkable. Rodriguez studied the readings with growing appreciation, like a gecko changing colors to match its surroundings. Not invisible, just perfectly camouflage. Better, Mei replied, making another minute adjustment. We're like the negative space in a shadow puppet show. The audience is so focused on what they can see, they never question the shadows that create the illusion. The lab's atmosphere was electric with possibility as the team watched their breakthrough unfold. Centuries of human artistic tradition had unexpectedly provided the key to advancing beyond conventional stealth technology. Send these modifications to the bridge, Mei instructed, her fingers flying over the console. Tell Captain Santos that the Phantom Drive is ready for full implementation. We're not just hiding anymore, we're hiding in plain sight. As the team rushed to implement the new protocols, Mei took a moment to touch the small holographic projector she kept at her workstation. It showed an image of her grandmother, smiling wisely as she held up an intricate shadow puppet. The old ways still have much to teach us, she whispered before turning back to her work. The Artemis would now become more than just a hidden ship. It would become a ghost in the machine, a shadow that even the most advanced alien sensors would dismiss as nothing more than cosmic background noise. The hunt was evolving, and humanity's ancient arts were proving to be the key to mastering space itself, not through overwhelming power or advanced technology, but through understanding the fundamental nature of perception and deception. Navigation Officer Diego Ortiz felt the subtle vibrations through his fingertips as they glided across the helm controls. The asteroid field ahead painted a complex web of gravitational influences on his tactical display, each rock a potential hiding spot, or a deadly obstacle. "Plotting optimal course through Sector 7, he announced, his voice steady despite the challenge ahead. "The debris field offers 23 viable paths, but only 3 that match our strategic requirements." Senior Tactical Officer Raj Patil nodded from his station, dark eyes fixed on the probability matrices flowing across his screen. The Raxan ship maintains its search pattern. Their movements are predictable, almost mathematical in precision. "That's their weakness," Captain Santos observed from her command chair. "They're following standard search protocols. Show me the analysis, Raj." The tactical display expanded, highlighting the Raxan vessel's movements over the past 6 hours. Perfect geometric patterns emerge, each sweep of their search exactly measured, each turn precisely calculated. "They're thinking in 3 dimensions, Raj explained, manipulating the display. "But they're not accounting for gravitational drift or temporal variations. It's like they're following a predetermined script." Diego's hands moved with practiced precision, guiding the Artemis through a series of subtle course corrections. "Permission to implement course Delta 7, Captain. It'll take us deeper into the asteroid field, but the gravitational interference will enhance our phantom drive's effectiveness." "Proceed," Santos commanded. "Dr. Chen, how will the drive handle the additional gravitational stress?" The chief engineer's voice came through clear on the bridge comm. "The new protocols are holding steady. The natural distortions in this region actually help mask our quantum signature. The Raxan won't be able to distinguish our drive emissions from background radiation." Diego began the intricate series of maneuvers, threading the Artemis through gaps in the asteroid field that seemed impossibly small for a ship of their size. Each movement was calculated to use the natural drift of space debris to their advantage. "Contact," Raj announced suddenly, 3,000 kilometers off our port bow. "A fragment of the mining station they destroyed last month." "Put it on screen," Santos ordered. The main viewer showed a twisted piece of metal, still bearing the logo of the Ganymede Mining Consortium. It rotated slowly in the void, a silent testament to the Raxan's destructive power. "They're not just conquerors," Diego said quietly, his hands never stopping their dance across the controls. "They're efficient, clinical. Every attack follows the same pattern. Disable communications, neutralize defenses, eliminate resistance. Predictable," Raj added, highlighting new data points on his display. "They follow the same attack pattern every time, down to the millisecond. It's like they can't conceive of doing things differently." Captain Santos leaned forward, studying the debris field. "And that's why they'll never understand us. Humans have never won battles by being predictable. Diego, show them why we're the best pilots in known space." A smile touched Diego's lips as he initiated a series of maneuvers that would have been impossible according to standard navigation protocols. The Artemis responded like a living thing, using the asteroid field's natural gravity wells to slingshot between larger bodies. Each motion brought them closer to their target, while maintaining perfect stealth. The Raxan ship continued its methodical search pattern, unaware that their quarry was turning their own thoroughness against them. Within optimal strike range in 17 minutes, Diego reported, his fingers dancing across the controls. "They'll never see us coming, because they're too busy looking for what they expect to find." The hunt was approaching its critical phase, and humanity's talent for unconventional thinking was about to prove that sometimes the best path forward was the one that no one else would dare to take. Science Officer Yuki Sato's fingers froze above her console as the sensor readings suddenly spiked. "Captain, we have a Class 3 solar flare emerging from the binary system's secondary star. Time to impact. 4 minutes." The bridge crew tensed. They had positioned themselves perfectly within the asteroid field, but a solar flare could illuminate their position like a spotlight in the darkness. "Analysis," Captain Santos commanded, her voice remaining steady despite the threat. Yuki's hands flew across her station, compiling data at remarkable speed. The radiation burst will ionize the surrounding dust cloud. Standard stealth systems won't be able to compensate. She paused, her eyes widening. But maybe they don't have to. Explain. Santos leaned forward, recognizing the tone in her science officer's voice, the one that usually preceded an innovative solution. The Raxan use crystalline technology, Yuki said, pulling up a simulation. Their sensors work by detecting disruptions in natural quantum fields. What if we use the solar flare to create so many disruptions they can't possibly track them all? Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez's voice came through from engineering. The phantom drive could be recalibrated to resonate with the flare's frequency. We'd create a cascade of false positives across their sensor network. Time to implementation, Santos asked. 3 minutes, Yuki responded, already beginning the calculations. But we'll need to modify our sensor shields to withstand the radiation burst. Engineering teams to emergency stations, Rodriguez announced, redirecting power to forward shields. Dr. Chen's modifications to the Phantom Drive are holding steady. The bridge hummed with focused activity as the crew raced against time. Yuki's fingers danced across her console, writing new algorithms on the fly to take advantage of the incoming solar phenomenon. 2 minutes to flare impact, Tanaka reported from his station. The Raxan ship is adjusting its position to compensate for the radiation wave. Yuki allowed herself a small smile. They're doing exactly what their protocols demand, taking a defensive posture against a natural phenomenon. They don't realize we're about to use it as a weapon. The simulation on her screen showed the complex interaction between the solar flare's particle wave and their modified phantom drive. Each adjustment had to be precise. One miscalculation could expose them completely. Engineering reports ready, Rodriguez announced. Phantom drive modifications complete. We can initiate on your command. 1 minute to impact, Tanaka updated. Raxan vessel has deployed additional crystalline sensor arrays. They're trying to maintain their search pattern despite the approaching radiation. Captain Santos stood from her chair, watching the tactical display as the massive wave of solar energy approached their position. Sometimes the best place to hide is in plain sight. Yuki, execute your plan. Initiating phantom drive modulation, Yuki confirmed, activating the newly written protocols. Synchronizing with flare frequency in 3, 2, 1. The solar flare struck the surrounding space like a cosmic thunderbolt. The asteroid field lit up with ionized particles, creating a brilliant display of cosmic lightning. The Artemis Phantom Drive pulsed in perfect harmony with the chaos, creating dozens of sensor ghosts. Raxan ship is detecting multiple phantom signatures, Raj reported from Tactical. Their sensor arrays are trying to track 17 different possible targets. They can't distinguish our real signature from the false positives. They're launching probe drones, Lin added from communications. Standard search pattern. They're following procedure even when it's clearly ineffective. Yuki monitored the energy readings carefully, making minute adjustments to maintain the deception. The flare actually helped us create a more perfect camouflage. Sometimes the best way to hide something is to give them too much to look at. Captain Santos nodded with satisfaction. Maintain course and speed. Let them chase shadows while we move into final position. Sometimes the greatest opportunities come disguised as obstacles, if you're clever enough to recognize them. The Artemis continued its stealthy approach, now hidden not in darkness, but in a dazzling display of light and energy that proved once again that human ingenuity could turn any situation to their advantage. Lieutenant Kimiko Nakamura stared at the error messages flooding her terminal screen as the main computer's quantum processors began failing one by one. The beautiful complexity of their targeting systems reduced to basic functionality in a matter of seconds. Status report, Captain Santos's voice carried across the bridge, calm despite the crisis. The solar flare caused cascade failures in the quantum computing core, Kimiko reported, her fingers flying across multiple keyboards. Backup systems are responding, but we've lost 70% of our targeting capability. Dr. Chen's voice crackled through the comm system. The Phantom Drive is stable, but without the main computer, Our precision targeting is compromised. We'll need a new solution fast." Kimiko closed her eyes for a moment, remembering something from her academy days. "Captain, request permission to try an unconventional approach. We still have our recreational systems online." "Explain." Santos leaned forward, recognizing the spark of inspiration in her officer's voice. "The crew's personal tablets and gaming systems," Kimiko said, already pulling out her own device. "They have dedicated processors that can handle complex calculations if we network them together." "A distributed computing system," Rodriguez finished her thought from engineering. "Using entertainment devices for combat calculations. That's either brilliant or insane." "Sometimes they're the same thing," Santos replied. "Make it happen, Lieutenant." Kimiko's hands moved with practiced efficiency as she began reprogramming her tablet. "I need all off-duty crew to report to their quarters and activate their personal devices. Engineering, can you set up a secure local network?" "Already on it," Rodriguez confirmed, using the internal communication arrays. "The Raxan won't be able to detect such low-power transmissions." The bridge hummed with renewed purpose as crew members pulled out their personal tablets and gaming systems. Each device represented a small fraction of their lost computing power, but together they might just be enough. "Connecting to the network now," announced Lieutenant Park from her station. "My gaming tablet has 3 quantum-enhanced graphics processors. They're old, but they're stable." More crew members reported in, each bringing additional computing power to their improvised network. Kimiko wrote adaptation algorithms on the fly, teaching their jury-rigged system to handle military-grade calculations. "This is crazy enough to work." Dr. Chen's voice held a note of admiration. "The Raxan would never expect a warship to operate on gaming hardware. Their sensors are calibrated to detect military-grade systems." Kimiko's fingers danced across her screens as she integrated each new device into their targeting network. "The gaming processors are actually perfect for this. They're designed to track multiple moving objects and calculate trajectories in real time." "Incoming transmission from the Raxan vessel," Lin reported from communications. "They're laughing at us. Their sensors must have detected our power loss." "Let them laugh," Santos said with a slight smile. "Sometimes being underestimated is our greatest advantage." The makeshift network grew stronger as more devices came online. Crew members from every department contributed their personal technology, creating a web of computing power that grew more sophisticated by the minute. "Network stability at 93%, Kimiko announced proudly. "Targeting systems are coming back online. The distributed processing is actually giving us more flexibility than our original system." "Multiple targeting solutions available," Raj confirmed from Tactical. "The gaming processors are predicting enemy movement patterns better than our military software did. They're designed for exactly this kind of challenge." Captain Santos stood at her command station, watching as their improvised solution proved more effective than anyone had expected. "Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt, to find solutions in unexpected places. Today we prove that even our entertainment can become a weapon when necessary." The Artemis hummed with new energy as their unconventional targeting system came fully online. Sometimes the best solutions came not from military precision, but from the creative use of everyday technology that no enemy would ever think to guard against. Officer Marco Silva's analysis of the Raxan shield harmonics filled the main screen as the Artemis glided into its final attack position. Weeks of careful observation had revealed a pattern in their supposedly impenetrable defense system, a rhythm as predictable as a heartbeat. "Their shield matrix pulses every 3.7 seconds, Marco explained, his fingers tracing the energy wavelengths. "Each pulse creates a microscopic fluctuation in their crystalline lattice. If we time our strike perfectly, we can thread our attack through their own defensive pattern." Captain Santos finished, studying the data, like slipping between the beats of a drum. The bridge crew worked with fluid precision, each member contributing their piece to the intricate plan. The improvised targeting network hummed quietly in the background, Gaming processors calculating trajectories with unexpected efficiency. Phantom drive holding steady, Dr. Chen reported from engineering. Power signature masked within normal background radiation. They still haven't detected our position. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez added, all systems synchronized with the shield pulse frequency. We'll have a window of 0.3 seconds when their lattice is most vulnerable. Show me the targeting solution, Santos commanded. The tactical display expanded, showing their planned strike point, a seemingly random spot on the Raxan ship's crystalline hull. But Marco's analysis had shown it was far from random. Here, he indicated, highlighting a complex pattern of energy flows. Their power distribution follows sacred geometry. Perfect mathematical ratios that they believe make their systems unbeatable. But mathematics has a beauty beyond mere perfection. Raj spoke up from his tactical station. The targeting computers, our gaming network, have identified the resonance point. A single precise strike, there will cascade through their entire power grid. Like shattering a crystal with the right musical note, Lin added from communications. Their own philosophical dedication to perfect patterns becomes their weakness. Captain Santos stood, watching the massive Raxan vessel continue its methodical search pattern. Time to primary firing position. 2 minutes, Diego reported from navigation. Course plotted through their sensor blind spots. The solar flare aftermath is still masking our approach. The bridge fell into focused silence as final preparations were made. Every lesson learned, every innovation created, every challenge overcome had led to this moment. The Artemis crew had proven that humanity's greatest strength lay not in overwhelming power, but in understanding the poetry hidden within technical precision. Multiple targeting solutions locked. Yuki confirmed from Science Station. Shield harmonic analysis at 100% correlation. Their next matrix pulse in 10 seconds. Marco watched his display intently. Energy patterns holding steady. They're maintaining their standard configuration. They don't believe anything could penetrate their perfect defense. All weapons synchronized to gaming network, Kimiko reported. Distributed processors are tracking shield fluctuations in real time. We're ready. Captain Santos took her seat, her voice carrying quiet confidence. Humanity has survived countless challenges not because we were the strongest or the most advanced, but because we understand that true perfection lies in imperfection. In the ability to adapt, to find beauty in chaos, to see patterns where others see only disorder. Shield pulse in 3, 2, 1. Marco counted down. The Artemis's weapons fired, a precisely calculated burst of energy that slipped through the microscopic flaw in the Raxan's shield pattern. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then the crystal lattice began to sing. The resonance spread through the alien vessel's structure like ripples in a pond, each perfect mathematical ratio amplifying the effect. Their own dedication to flawless geometry transformed their ship into a tuning fork of destructive energy. Direct hit, Raj announced quietly. Their power grid is cascading exactly as predicted. All from a single shot, precisely placed. The bridge crew watched in silence as their weeks of preparation, observation, and innovation paid off in a single perfect moment. They had proven that humanity's greatest weapon was not technology, but understanding. The ability to see beyond the obvious and find victory in the spaces between perfection. The crystalline dreadnought drifted powerless in space, its once perfect geometric patterns now fractured and dark. On the Artemis's bridge, Lin Zhao's fingers moved delicately across her communications console as she intercepted the Raxan ship's final transmissions. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, she reported, wonder in her voice. Not just status reports or distress calls. They're sending philosophical debates. Their entire worldview is being questioned. Captain Santos nodded, understanding the significance. When perfection fails, you're forced to confront everything you believed about the universe. What are they saying? Translating now, Lin replied, her expression growing more fascinated with each passing moment. Their commanders are arguing about the nature of adaptation. Some are calling for complete reformation of their military doctrine. Dr. Chen's voice came through from engineering, where she monitored the Phantom Drive's power-down sequence, a single flaw in their perfect pattern. That's all it took to make them question everything. Not a flaw, Marco corrected from his station. A rhythm. We didn't break their pattern. We danced with it, found the spaces between their notes, and turned their symphony into our advantage. The main screen showed the disabled Raxan vessel, its crystal structure occasionally flickering with residual energy. Rescue ships would arrive soon from their empire, but the message had already been sent. Perfection could be defeated by adaptation. More transmissions incoming, Lin announced. They're documenting everything, creating detailed records of how a smaller, technically inferior vessel managed to defeat their greatest warship. The data is being broadcast across their entire network. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez chuckled from engineering. Technically inferior, they still don't understand. Technology is just a tool. It's how you use it that matters. Multiple Raxan vessels approaching at FTL speeds, Raj reported from Tactical. Estimated arrival in 20 minutes. But they're not in attack formation. They're maintaining open communications and broadcasting peaceful intentions. Captain Santos stood, straightening her uniform. They're coming to learn, not to fight. Humanity's greatest victory isn't in defeating them. It's in teaching them there's another way to see the universe. Yuki's fingers danced across her science station. The sensor logs are remarkable. Their shield harmonics actually created a more efficient pattern when they failed. By breaking their perfect geometry, we showed them how to make it stronger, more adaptable. That's the greatest irony, Diego added from navigation. In trying to destroy their perfection, we help them evolve beyond it. Sometimes you have to break something to make it better. The bridge crew worked steadily, documenting everything for Earth Command. This encounter would change more than just military doctrine. It would reshape how two civilizations viewed each other and themselves. Final transmission from the Raxan ship, Lin reported, her voice soft with amazement. They're requesting permission to share this encounter with their academies, their philosophers, their artists. They're calling it the Symphony of Imperfection. The moment they learned that true strength lies not in unchanging patterns, but in the ability to adapt and grow. Captain Santos smiled, remembering every step that had led to this moment. The shadow puppets that inspired their stealth system. The gaming computers that guided their weapons. The sacred geometry that became a key to victory. Every piece of human culture and creativity that had come together to prove that innovation trumped raw power. Send them our blessing, she ordered, and remind them that this isn't just a lesson about warfare. It's about understanding that the universe is too vast and beautiful to be contained by any single pattern of thought. As the rescue ships approached and the Artemis prepared to return home, the crew knew they had achieved something greater than a military victory. They had shown that humanity's greatest strength lay not in the power to destroy perfection, but in the wisdom to see the beauty in imperfection, the strength in adaptation, and the victory in understanding.